All right, thank you, New Orleans. We're just taking a moment to really explain ballot measures that you will have to vote on this Saturday, November the 16th. We have been following, you all on social media, hearing some of the questions and even some of the comments about some of the propositions, and particularly around raising taxes. And that is absolutely not what these ballot measures are about, nor what they will do. But they will address our crumbling and ailing infrastructure problems that we've had in our city for decades. And what my administration has been very upfront about are the existing conditions and challenges that we have in our city, but also being very quick to double down on creating solutions to meet the needs of our problems, and doing it in a way that is as conservative as possible, that is transparent, and that builds in accountability measures to make sure that we, government, we're doing what we say, because that's a big piece of this now. I understand that. But the needs couldn't be greater. And the time for us to make these decisions for, to sell 500 million in bonds, particularly when we have just been, upgraded to the best credit score and rating than we've seen in so long in our city. The time is now. So I have Ramsey Green with me, who is our deputy CAO of Infrastructure, and he has been in the trenches really since day one. And he has, even in my opinion, a better way of explaining not only the needs, but how we are addressing them, but what these ballot measures mean to you as residents of this city, and particularly the burdens that you carry because of the failing and crumbling infrastructure. And a lot of times, if you don't do preventative maintenance, which we really haven't done in this city for decades, you end up paying more later. But we're trying to set up our city to be financially viable and sustainable, literally for years to come. So we're thinking about the long haul when we make decisions. It's not tunnel vision, but it's very upfront and directed towards these matters. So Ramsey, you want to jump in?
Always, ma'am. What citizens pay for every year in their tax bill is based on a millage. And there's certain numbers of mills. A mill is worth X amount of money, and those millages go towards some service that you as a citizen get. Since roughly 2002, a long time ago, we've seen a specific dedicated amount of tax money that goes towards infrastructure. At some points, it was 38 mills. But since 2010 to 2018, it's been at 25 and a half mills. In 2019, it went down to 22 and a half. That was a 3 mil difference. And what we've done is we've taken that 25 and a half and we've said where that money is dedicated only toward building new things, let's lower it 3 mils and dedicate that toward finally maintaining the things that we've built since Katrina. The federal government has told us, you're spending a lot of FEMA money. You need to maintain it, or in the event there's another disaster in the future, you'll never get federal money again.
Exactly.
So there's 2 ballot propositions. One, to issue $500 million in bonds, which maintains the same tax rate that it is today, 22 and a half mils going towards bonds. And 3 mils, second ballot proposition, the maintenance fund, would go towards maintaining the infrastructure that we build, plus going towards police cars and vehicles. Many of our cars are 12 years old, and police cars get a lot of use in a year-to-year basis. So there's 2 ballot propositions. One, $500 million. Over the next 5 years, we'd be issuing bonds to build new things, and 3 mils to maintain those things we build and the things we built since Hurricane Katrina.
Absolutely. And one thing, we cannot forget, and particularly, all of us who were here, pre-Katrina and rebuilt this city post-Katrina. You all remember that the federal government, in terms of when they did their assessments of our properties, both, public, and private, but on the public side, they undervalued every single public facility that we had. And the city had to fight for our fair share, because we knew that a public library, was more than $350,000 to repair. We knew that. But when we fought, we then got in an upward, $6 million. This is just one example, like the Keller Library in Broadmoor. But it's not a matter of if another storm will come our way or some type of disaster. It's when. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything possible to protect our assets, to reinvest in them, and to maintain them so that they can be a benefit to our city, our citizens, for years to come. Even just think back, pre-Katrina, the schools, for example. And you've seen billions of dollars of investment post-Katrina on schools. And what did we do as a state, in New Orleans as well? What we did as citizens, we voted to create a maintenance fund for our schools so that we never have to go back and relive the facilities that did not service our children and our families for decades pre-Katrina. So listen, we've been here before. My administration is trying to put forth solutions so that we don't have to return back, but that we continue to move this city forward. And in a very short period of time since we've been here, now a year and a half, we've had to replace 2 elevators, for example, Civil District Court, that needed them years before we even got here. But what did we do? We assessed the problem. We said, yes, this is a need. We saw that courts were closed because of lack of accessibility for our residents. And we had to spend the money and find the money, and we didn't have a maintenance fund. So these are expenses that can be avoided with preventative measures. And having a maintenance fund will allow us, for the first time in our history, to be proactive about things. And I've heard over and over, I remember hearing one of the congressmen, and I believe that was Cedric Richmond, as I think about one of the speeches that he gave. And he said, the insanity, when you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, they call that, insanity. We're not insane around here, no longer for that. It's about being proactive, using our resources more effective, being wiser about it, and to meet the needs of our community. I can go on and on. The needs are great. And when Ramsey talked about even police vehicles, this is public safety across the board. This is our fire fleet. This is our EMS fleet. Right now we have no units available, for example, then we have to use our contractor to come service our people. But we're saying we will have a fleet, a replacement plan, so what's rolling off every year. But with the maintenance dollars, we can plan for this. So we do not have to, be flat-footed with these expenses, and we can do better.
Yes, definitely.
We can.
You got it.
We can do better.
We can do better.
And then also with maintenance, we have to think about technology. Hey, we're using it right now. And that it constantly changes. Well, that is something that government has to continue to evolve as technology evolves. It costs money. But with the maintenance fund, we can, again, keep up with the times. We have a real-time crime center that's literally second to none in the United States of America. And I want to make sure that it lives with us, that we utilize our asset to the maximum.
We're actually putting 2019 bond money into putting a new roof on it. Because it has a leaking roof.
Yeah.
Where we put all this technology to fight crime and to detect where flooding occurs, and we cannot protect it from rainwater. And that's the last ability of our present bond authority for the $50 million in 2019 bonds. That is one of the projects funded by it. And that is where this vote matters, and that provides the resources to do future work like that.
Absolutely. And all those good things too, in terms of the 500 mills and bond sales that we're asking you to approve. This is not only addressing the inadequate, facilities that we have, or infrastructure, right? The streets and roads and drainage and sewer lines and, the bridges, transportation, all these things. It's affordable housing, as well. but it's also tied to forward-thinking projects that I know you all want, in your communities and throughout the city. I hear, just like, for example, the extension of the Lafitte Greenway, all of the capital improvements there. Well, that has to come from somewhere. I have my eyes set, on Algiers and all of the improvements and investments that I know our administration is targeting for Algiers. But this is where the bond money can allow us to do, because we don't have the federal money is one time. And so utilizing the bonding capacity, especially with this great credit score, our money will go further for us, and we'll be able, to do more that you want to see. And also maximize the federal money that we have. Ramsey, I love how you talk about how our joint infrastructure project, which is federally funded, over $2 billion, and FEMA has identified where that money goes. Okay, a particular street, and you would kind of explain, it can go and fill in a gap. So while we're in a community and we're using that FEMA money, the bond money will allow us to go even further while we're there.
Perfect example is, the way FEMA works is, if this is your neighborhood and, where my fingers are, that's a street intersection. FEMA will only pay for this piece right here, or this piece where my knuckle is, but it won't pay for this piece down here. But we've already mobilized a contractor. And how happy is the guy who lives here when he sees this street getting rebuilt but not his?
Right.
And the reason that's the case is FEMA only pays for Hurricane Katrina damage.
Right.
But our streets are also damaged just by years of neglect. What we are able to do is do the entire area, because we're able to fill the gaps in financially using bond money.
Right.
For example, West Bank Group A in Algiers, we just added 20 blocks to an existing FEMA joint infrastructure project because we had the bond money to do it.
Right.
And it's called scope. Adding scope to projects is something we do all over the city. Lakeview, we had some neighbors say, hey, my one street over, there's a bunch of work being done. Why can't I have it in my neighborhood? And the reason we're able to pay for it and add that block is because we have that bond money to do it.
Right, and so that means that we're working smarter. So while we're already mobilized in a neighborhood, then we can add on to the scope and do more than what the federal money will allow us to do. And why it also ties into the maintenance that we're talking about, the maintenance fund, because we have to maintain what we do. So when we know that we use the federal money, which is one-time money, we have to need to tap into some maintenance dollars in order to maintain what was already done. And a part of our problem in our city has been a lack of adequate maintenance. We are a city, not only that does, we flood, and we can do better with mitigating that, and we're trying to by focusing on these infrastructure problems that we have. But at the same time, we are sinking. Subsidence is real. Sea level, it's rising. We have to do more with the dollar to help prevent us from flooding due to rainwater. Green infrastructure is a top priority in this as well. But we're embracing, our natural environment, as well as our failing infrastructure that needs to be improved, and looking at it as a system, system-wide approach, to protect you, to protect your family, to protect your homes from flooding, and to clean this city up, clean these canals. Now, we showed you, you can't make it up. We showed you a vehicle that was there since Katrina, and we also said that was only a small fraction of what we could afford to do at the time, but the need to clean out these canals, it's so great, and we want to do it, but it takes resources to do it. But just think, if we clean the canals, our draining capacity would increase. So we have so many needs, and we can do this. I'm committed to it, and a part of this, I understand, it's about trusting, government. That's a part of it. And I am asking you to do that, because we're being upfront, we're being honest, we work hard, we don't lie, and we don't steal. But it takes courage and a commitment to get results. And that's what we want to bring you. But we can't do it alone. So it's either we continue to do the same thing that we've been doing, expecting a different outcome, or we do something different. Use our voice, use our voting capacity to create a maintenance fund with resources so that we can, for the first time, have some real preventative maintenance around here. And also leverage it to the best of our ability with one-time federal money that we have to spend. Anything else you want to add?
I can't add anything to that, Mayor.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Ramsey, and need you to continue to work with me on these things because our people are depending on us. But we're here for you. We thank you. I'm asking you for your strong consideration of voting yes to the ballot of yes. Thank you.